The most popular song about West Virginia is this one.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River.
It's practically our state anthem.
Life is older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like the breeze, country roads.
Yet the folks who wrote it and the guy who sang it aren't from here. Still, people love it. Me? Well, I like it well enough in a pop music kind of way. But it's really not West Virginia. But more important than that, Take Me Home, Country Roads doesn't reflect our complexities, our imperfections, our realness. Heck, it doesn't even reflect our actual beauty.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello. And welcome once again to Mountain Stage, live performance radio from the Mountain State of West Virginia.
Whenever I'm back home in Charleston, West Virginia, I like to take in a show at Mountain Stage. It's the antithesis of pop music. Most of the shows are on Sunday nights in Charleston. The live music show is a fresh blend of what I consider to be more authentic music, folk, jazz, Americana, country, even world music, all kinds of stuff. I'm always hoping to hear something new, perhaps even a little West Virginia. And a few months ago, I did.
Our next guest grew up in West Virginia and writes tunes that lift the spirit and hug the soul. He's a multi-instrumentalist, plays guitar, fiddle, mandolin, and keyboard.
Philip Bowen played several songs the night I was at Mountain Stage, including Old Kanawha. That's the river that flows through Charleston, the state's capital. And Philip's boyhood home is a bit upriver on the Kanawha.
Well, there's a place in the valley down that old Midland Trail, and black gold in the mountains and hickory on the hill. And at the devil's tea table, if you can climb to the top, and you can see the emerald waters of the old Kanawha. Well, there's the new and there's the golly, but they're a little too rough. The greenbrier and the holly, but they ain't deep enough.
I enjoyed Old Kanawha, but it's not the one that really got to me. The song that really hit me is darker. It's blunt. Its lyrics really grabbed me. It's about the place where Philip and I grew up, in West Virginia. And when you hear it, you'll know why I say it's a song West Virginia will never adopt as its anthem. I'm Trey Kay, and from PRX and West Virginia Public Broadcasting, this is Us and Them, the show that tells the stories about the things that divide us. But before we hear Philip's provocative song, let me tell you a little bit about him. He's 38, he's married, he's the father of 3, and he's a TikTok sensation. Philip's thing on TikTok is called Does It Fiddle? He takes a popular song from a genre you'd never imagine would feature a fiddle, and Philip makes it funky.
All right, this is a good challenge. A lot of people asking for Gangster's Paradise. by Coolio. Philip on the strings.
The valley of the shadow of
Let's
death.
go.
I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed.
This TikTok post has garnered 1.2 million views and counting. And you know why? It's catchy.
You and your homies might be lying. So I really hate the trip, but I gotta know. As they go, I see myself in the pistol smoke. Fool, I'm the kind of dude the little homies wanna be like on my knees in the night, saying prayers in the street light.
I got it.
He's also laid funky fiddle licks on top of Metallica. And Linkin Park and Jay-Z.
Let's go. Let's go.
Philip is fun to watch. He's often wearing a t-shirt and a ball cap and these big professional-looking headphones and a fiddle tucked in under his chin. And when his bow hits the strings, he shuts his eyes real tight. He scrunches up his face and he's lost in the music. People dig it. He's got nearly 1 million followers and more than 7 million likes on this popular platform. How old were you when you started playing the violin?
4 years old. I was 4 when I started playing the violin / fiddle. And I was watching an episode of Sesame Street, and there is this very famous classical violinist named Itzhak Perlman, and he was on there. And as a 4 or 5 year old would tend to do, I got obsessed with this particular episode of Sesame Street. My older sister Laura is 2 years older than me, and she was already playing piano. And my mom wanted me to, you should try to learn an instrument. So I became obsessed with learning the violin.
As he got older, there was a tension between music and other activities. Sometimes he wanted to go outside and play with his friends or shoot hoops. But before his mom would let him leave the house, Philip had to practice violin for an hour. By high school, he was playing classics by Bach and beginning to be influenced by other forms of music.
I love classical music, but in a different way than I love Americana and bluegrass and stuff. Is that it's like if you go listen to a recording of the Bach double, most of them are going to sound the same because they're playing Bach, and there's not a lot of room in classical for improvisation in the way that I do it. So sometimes it would feel like restrictive to me, and I'd be like, I just want to go have some fun. Well, I remember one specific instance. I was supposed to be learning. This is like later high school. I was supposed to be learning the Bach double.
Now, this is actually the Netherlands Bach Society performing, not Philip.
It's a very, very famous violin duet. I was supposed to be doing this with somebody in the youth orchestra for like a chamber music thing. We're supposed to be learning this Bach double concerto. And I remember I was supposed to be learning the second violin part, and I played it like 1 million times. So even though I loved playing that with a friend, I was like, okay, I can't hear this anymore. But sometimes I would get in trouble, and I would turn my radio on or a CD on, and I'd be like, "Oh, cool! I bet the fiddle would sound cool with the Temptations." It starts out bum dun 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 bum 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 bum. I got sunshine bum bum dun 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 on a cloudy day, and I go on a cloudy day with the fiddle, when it's cold outside. I got the month of May. And then you could do a little lick here. I guess, you say. And then when you have those kind of spaces with long notes, you can really just lean into it on the fiddle and, give it some color, put some stank on it, whatever you want to say, like mess around and give those kind of little bluesy licks and stuff like that. And then I'd hear my mom coming up the stairs. Is that in the recital? Are you supposed to be, like, you know, I'm like, no, but it sounds cool though, right? You know, so I would drive her crazy with that.
That willingness to experiment, to test musical limits, led to new places. And it all began by listening to the radio and challenging himself to fiddle a version of a pop song or a soul song. And he also experimented in church. Instead of playing one hymn, Philip would take requests for several hymns and mash them together into a medley.
A lot of times my brother and I would play together like a fiddle duet, or it would be just me or just him. But so I would get up there and we'd be like, I'm not sure what to play, but I kind of love this spur of the moment. Like having to create on the fly has always been fun for me. Like I'll be like, all right, hey, Papa, that's what I call my grandpa. And Papa would be out there. I was like, what do you want to hear today? Give me a song. All right, Mr. West over there, what do you want to hear? All right, Miss So-and-so, what would you like to hear today? And I'd get 3 or 4 hymns. I'd write down the names of the hymns on a piece of paper. And I'd be like, all right, here we go. You know, mash them up. Yeah, I could see my mom getting visibly nervous in the pew when we were doing that. My dad would be like, yeah, that was awesome. I love it, you know? So, like, I think still, like, the improv thing kind of scares her. Like, she wants to have it planned out, but I loved doing that as a kid.
Philip seems able to do that with just about every genre. This one has 1 million+ listens, and a lot of that has to do with the fiddle. Though, since this one has a classical sound to it, maybe we should call it a violin.
The other thing that most people find the most difficult about the violin is the preciseness of where your fingers need to be. Every 1/8 or 16th of an inch is a different semitone. A semitone is just a note, like the way the notes change as you go up and down the fretboard. It's like a baker. You can't be off on the sugar or they're going to ruin the whole cake. You got to nail those notes. And you, just like a electric guitarist would bend into those notes and pull the strings, you're doing the same thing, but with violin, you're sliding your fingers in. You're sometimes moving with vibrato.
You were just putting your finger and you're kind of like rolling it back and forth, and that's what you're talking about is the vibrato, where you're kind of just taking the string and just kind of twirling it, and it's kind of sharpening and flattening it slightly.
That's it, just slightly, and that's where you get that real emotional pull.
For 40 years, Larry Gross has been vetting acts for the popular radio program Mountain Stage. He co-founded the show and loves a good fiddler.
You know, fiddle is probably the closest thing to human voice expression because you can do so much with a fiddle. You can make it cry, you can make it laugh, you can slide it, you can make it sound funny. You can do stuff that you can do with the human voice. And to me, the very best people are the most expressive. It's not the ones who can play the fastest, not the ones who can, impress you with their gymnastics. It's the people who talk to you with their instrument and make you feel like that you're experiencing something that's almost a physical place.
Larry says there's something else, too.
And so I think Philip understands what his licks mean and why he's playing them. And he may not be able to cut somebody like, look at him, he does that. Well, listen to this, I can do this. That's fun, and people can do that. And there's some great players that have both, of course. The greatest players have both. But I think Philip I'm not saying he doesn't have any technique. He's got plenty of technique, and he can play well. But I think he's got the heart and the soul is his strong suit.
When Larry first heard about Philip's Does It Fiddle videos, they didn't do anything for him.
And the thing he was famous for on TikTok was not interesting to me because it was him playing along with John Denver. He played the fiddle while John Denver sang Country Roads. That's fun. It's cool. But it's not something we're going to do on Mountain Stage.
Right.
So then I thought, well, he had some songs. Let me listen to the songs. I listened to the songs, and by golly, he could write a song. And it was not the usual thing. I mean, it in some ways it had the trappings of a usual country song. Some of the same things that were in it or in a lot of country songs, out down by the creek and all that kind of stuff. And it had some nostalgia, which shows up in country songs. But it was very honest, I thought, and authentic. And when he sang it, I believed him. I didn't think it was a formula that he had heard, growing up in the city and then learning how to do a formula that talked about pickup trucks and beer. And it wasn't like that. It was more like he was actually singing about his own experiences in his own way.
Do you find, like I do, you've heard artists who are from West Virginia and they're nice, good-hearted people, and they'll write a song about West Virginia, and you hear it and you smile, but it's a little clunky. It might be a little too sentimental. It might be...
Sure. That happens a whole lot. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that we can't put a lot of that stuff on Mountain Stage or we'll be out of business, whether it's from West Virginia or anywhere.
And when I was at the show where Philip Bowen played, and I heard his songs that were about West Virginia, and they seemed to just have the right touch.
I agree with that, and the nostalgia song, the one about his grandfather's watch, and you can't find a part for it anymore. You know what's coming, but when he said it and the way he put it together, it was not only sweet, it was touching. It was, and you can be cynical and say this is cornball. If you're not cynical, you can say, you know what, this really has heart, and it's a sweet song, and it hits the spot.
I wear a gold watch handed down from my grandpa. I've been blue 'cause it stopped telling time a week ago. I took it in and this old man couldn't find the parts to fix it. He said, son, I guess they just don't make them like that anymore. My, oh my, does it ever get much better? There always seems to be some pain in store. Why, oh why, can't the best things last forever? I guess they just don't make them like they used to anymore. I guess they just don't make them like they used to anymore. The day they buried Mama, it was snowing on the mountain. I was fighting back the sadness through every note in every chord. The tears are rolling down, but then I saw my grandpa smiling. He said, son, I don't think they'll ever make them like her anymore. My, oh my, does it ever get much better? There always seems to be some pain in store. Why, oh why, can't the best things last forever? I guess they just don't make them like they used to anymore. I guess they just don't make them like they used to anymore.
After a break, we'll hear from a darker side of Philip Bowen and a song that says a lot about West Virginia and America.
This is so good.
You're listening to Us and Them. This program is supported in part by the West Virginia Humanities Council, the CRC Foundation, and the Daywood Foundation.
In difficult times, music gives us peace, brings us together, and helps heal us. It calms our nerves and brightens our days. That's why we're bringing you classic episodes of Mountain Stage on air and in our podcast. This is Larry Gross, host of Mountain Stage. Find something that's familiar or brand new and feel the power of live music on our website, mountainstage.org.
Hey, it's Trey, and from PRX and West Virginia Public Broadcasting, this is Us and Them. When I saw Philip Bowen performing live on Mountain Stage, this is the song that really grabbed me.
And yeah, he worked his whole life in the hills, way below the roads and rivers, where that black diamond lives. Black on black, dust on dust, it keeps filling up his lungs. And so the sick keep getting sicker, while the rich keep getting richer. There's a vampire in Appalachia, and we're running out of blood. Whoa. Wall Street or someplace across the sea. There ain't enough to pay our teachers, but the drugs keep flowing free. It's hard to find a friend or neighbor that ain't lost someone they love. So the sick keep getting sicker, while the rich keep getting richer. There's a vampire in Appalachia, and we're running out of blood. Whoa.
Philip has seen how life is taken from people in Appalachia. Sometimes it's from working the mines. More recently, from opioid addiction. That's what inspired his song, Vampire in Appalachia.
I worked at Cracker Barrel one summer out of college in Canal City, and these coal miners would come in for breakfast, like literally black, head to toe. Shoes, clothes, socks, couldn't get, I mean, they're just covered in soot. And that's after they tried to like wash off a little bit at the mine before they came for breakfast. And that image of like soot on a biscuit after they left, like the biscuit they didn't finish, that image stuck with me for the longest time.
But that soot that would stay on a biscuit, you're also thinking that they're also breathing it in.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I'm thinking, man, if it's that much on their skin, if it's that much here and there, I know there's safety gear and stuff like that, but there's nobody that's going to tell you breathing that stuff in for your whole career is going to do your body any good. And so I just like, I just was getting really frustrated by all of that sacrifice to provide for a family. And then, of course, the other side of the coin in the second verse of that song is about the opioid epidemic. I have cousins that have gone through that and family members that have gone through that. I've been at funerals where I like see the person in the casket and I don't even recognize them. It's awful. It's awful. It's terrible. And I just hate it, so I'm sorry.
Philip takes a moment to collect himself.
That industry has done a lot of good things for a lot of good people in West Virginia. It provides for a lot of people. My point is always that we have to find something else that is our calling card that doesn't kill us.
At the next stop sign, turn right.
I drive to the house Philip grew up in the small town of Montgomery. I want to learn more about him. I love your home. It's just a beautiful home. I step inside the big brick house and meet Philip's mom and dad.
Philip was a typical boy. The first thing he learned was how to knock off Dr. Meyer's glasses with his bow.
This is Philip's mom, Luann Bowen. She says Dr. Meyer is the college professor who taught Philip how to play violin.
Philip is always full of life, crazy, happy-go-lucky, big smile, more jovial personality, and was always into something. I mean, by the time he was 6, he had broken 3 bones and his nose, and on top of that, and he was just kind of wild and crazy kid, but not disrespectful or anything, but just if there was trouble to get into, Philip was the ringleader.
He is one of those, he's comfortable around a lot of people.
That's Philip's dad, Gary Bowen.
He doesn't mind entertaining. Growing up in his junior high and high school years, if there was a school play, he was in it. If there was a comedy skit, he was the lead in the comedy skit. So he always had that presence, stage presence, being around people. If you went out to eat and say, Philip, you want to bring a couple of friends with you, you'd have 8 or 9 friends.
Montgomery is about 30 minutes upriver from Charleston. Gary says here, life happens in the narrow valley that carries the Kanawha River.
There's about, I don't know, let's say 400 yards between mountains. And we're in the valley between that 400 yards. And between the mountains, you have a highway, a railroad track, and a community on one side. Then you have the river, and on the other side, you have a highway and a railroad, and the other mountain. Yeah. So it's very scenic, very compact.
It's home. You know, people are saying, why do you live here? Even my sisters. And I'll say, why did you stay in Montgomery? And it's like, it's home. Everyone is family. We care about each other.
Right.
I was a nurse anesthetist here in the hospital 43 years, and it was just different, taking care of people that you see every day. And you know you're going to see them tomorrow, so you better do a really good job.
I really, really like Montgomery. My career, I spent a lot of time on the road traveling for business. And when I came home on either a Thursday night or a Friday night, I could park the car in front of the house. I could walk to get my hair cut, walk to the bank. If I needed a gallon of milk, walk to the Go-Mart, walk to the post office. Only time I got in my car was to go to church on Sunday and get back home.
Now the one thing that you haven't mentioned is that this place, in many ways, has been hit by an economic tsunami. It's the coal industry has really waned quite considerably. The petrochemical industry, there used to be a DuPont plant that was just downriver.
You forgot about, or didn't mention the alloy metals plant, which is just 4 miles from here. When I grew up in Boomer, 3,000 people employed there. 3,000, that's in the 50s, 60s. Now there's 300. So the decline is gradual. But you finally get to the point you say, we've actually hit bottom. And the bottom here was when WVU left the area. I mean, it was devastating. So you're down on the mat and you're staying on the mat.
Oh, I agree, absolutely. My family actually immigrated here from Lebanon. And like I said, they were Lebanese. They were very different. There weren't any other Lebanese people here at the time. I'm thinking to myself, when they first came here, they were where we are right now. There wasn't much here, but then the coal industry just started developing, and their business picked up, and then the coal led to the metals, and then there was this and that. And so to me, I keep thinking they came in a similar situation. They never gave up on Montgomery. They loved Montgomery till the day they died, and I just hope to see things turn around.
The Bowens say Philip has always been fascinated by the Kanawha River. It's right there behind his boyhood home.
So when he says being on the old Kanawha, there it is.
So we're like stepping right outside of your back door, and
yeah, probably 20 yards.
20 yards is the Kanawha River.
Well, there's a place in the valley down that old Midland Trail, black gold in the mountains and hickory on the hill. And at the devil's tea table, you can climb to the top, and you can see the emerald waters of the old Kanawha. Well, there's the new and there's the golly, but they're a little too rough. The greenbrier and the holly, but they ain't deep enough. There's a place in the valley that runs wild and free, and she's the mind.
When he was in college, he had some of his college buddies up here, and he took them out on the pontoon boat up here, and there's an island up here that has a rope swing. So they're coming back down the river, and Philip says, hey, let's get out of the boat and go do the rope swing. The college friend asked him, how much does it cost? Hey, it's free.
And you can float down to the islands. There's a rope swing for free. Hanging worn, torn and faded from a big poplar tree. And you you can watch the barges carry those dusty black rocks. Yeah, they power half the country down the old canal.
West Virginia coal helped build this nation's industry. And for decades, coal barges were common on the Kanawha River. Now those boats travel less frequently. And many rural West Virginians feel that the nation has forgotten all of the Mountain State's contributions and sacrifices. And this got me to thinking about something that Philip said during our conversation. He thinks outsiders often have misperceptions about West Virginia.
I think that people have these expectations that they're going to come there and it's going to be like, you know, all like, you know, clapboard cabins and people just whatever, you know, a bunch of rednecks. And there's, you know, it's just like all those stereotypes that you hear. Oh, wow, you're wearing shoes. That's great. You know, like those kind of things are so tiring if you live here. But then like to be able to show somebody, oh, like my dad is an accomplished, you know, software engineer. My mother is an anesthesia professional. Both have their master's degree and they're very smart. And you know what I mean? Like there's so much richness to the area here.
And that's definitely true. But there's also pain, which is why I had to get Gary and Luann to talk about Vampire in Appalachia. I was a little nervous about it at first, but it turns out it didn't need to be. Here's what Gary had to say about the song.
He addresses two very powerful influences on this region and this community, a negative influence. The first one he addressed was black lung. And we all have family that worked in these coal mines. I had an uncle ended up with black lung. I had a dear friend in our church. It was my dad's best friend. He got so bad with his black lung that he could not even come to church anymore. And the pastor at the time would hook him up with a telephone so he could listen to the services. And then he transitioned like immediately to the opioid crisis in this area. And again, there's not a family in this area. They have to go very far in their family. Probably people that have died or just basically lost their life. And then the tagline is there's a vampire in Appalachia and we're running out of blood. And if you're running out of blood, you're at the end, which means you better do something about it now if you want to be able to get to the other side of this.
As I recall, I was sitting in the balcony. I heard the hook of the song, which is there's a vampire in Appalachia and we're running out of blood. It's a very potent piece of poetry, and I just typed that line into Twitter and I hit send.
That one, the first time I heard it, hit deep. I said, and I told Luann, when he said he's going to sing that song at Mountain Stage, I said, you watch. That's going to be the most impactful song he sings that night.
When he says there's a vampire in Appalachia and we're running out of blood, what does he mean by blood?
I think basically we're running out of life.
It's going to suck all the blood out of our region. If we don't address, particularly now, that opioid question, you can't let it run. You're just going to run out of blood, and it's it. It's the end.
Philip's debut album is released on June 30th. This song is called Murder, and it's the companion piece to Vampire in Appalachia.
I woke up a little early to watch a murder. The crows mobbing down to kill off their old friend. I feel like that old blackbird buried by my demons, picked clean to the core with nothing left to give. I've been working every day, watching the clock go out my window as the trees bend down. They're heavy with the bleedings of the saddest season. The best fruit's gone, the rest is rotting on the ground. I don't know just what the answer is, but darling, I can try to save myself while the world still spins. But there's a murder in the sky. Yeah, I know that it seems crazy, but when it's cold out.
After my interview with Philip Bowen at West Virginia Public Broadcasting's Morgantown studio, I pulled out my guitar for an impromptu session, just to have a little fun. I picked a few songs and asked Philip, does it fiddle?
Well, play like your high E, and we'll see how close we are. Oh yeah, nice. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
All right, so you say, can it fiddle? And
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, I sit around and I play like a lot of songs. So I was just going to throw things at you
Anything.
and see if it can fiddle.
All right.
Okay, so I tried Frank Sinatra. That works. That works. You can do Sinatra.
For sure.
All right. How about, okay, let me try another one. So how about, wait.
Yeah.
He nailed it. So then I reached deep into my musical knowledge. Okay, I bet you haven't heard this. Let me try it.
That's fine.
Let me
Yeah,
try
I love
it.
your challenge.
Okay, so this is like old African-American rhythm and blues, Louis
Awesome.
Jordan.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Got it.
I got a gal who's always late. Every time she has a date, but I love her. Yes, I love her. I'm gonna walk right up to a gate, see if I can get it straight. You've been listening to Us and Them. Our team for this show was me, Trey Kay, Todd Melby, Matthew Hancock, and Kate Smith. Thanks to Judge Joanna Tabbitt. And special thanks to Larry Gross, Adam Harris, and the team from Mountain Stage. Michael Lipton, Tristam Lozow, and Ahmed Solomon wrote and performed the Us and Them show music. Mark Lerner designed our logo. The marvelous people at PRX and West Virginia Public Broadcasting make Us and Them possible. So do grants from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the West Virginia Humanities Council, the CRC Foundation, and the Daywood Foundation. We'd love to hear your thoughts about this episode. Share them with us on our Facebook page, or if you can brave Twitter, tweet us at UsThemPodcast. Us and Them was originally developed with assistance from the mentorship program at AIR, the Association of Independents in Radio. Is my baby still my baby true?
Nice.
Thank you.
sir. I appreciate it. That was fun.
I really appreciate it. All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
man. I love that.
Happy fiddling, everybody, and we'll see you next time on Us and Them.
Got it.
Support for this podcast comes from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.